Greetings, I'm Barrett and welcome to Meet Me at the Table. This is it. Today we are going to be unboxing my all-in pledge from Kickstarter for Oathsworn Into the Deep Woods. This is probably my most anticipated game of, I would almost say all time. It has been last year, even this year, and probably even the year before. I was super excited for this one and I still am dying to dig into all of this exciting content. It just got delivered today. I'm excited to give you a full unboxing. I'm going to make it as spoiler-free as possible. This game is by Jamie Joller over at Shadowborn Games. This is for 1 to 4 players. It runs potentially about 45 minutes for each of the story components of this game, and then 90 minutes for each encounter. It's for 14 and up, and this is a boss battler with a very in-depth story that is going to change how the game progresses as you move forward. You're going to be using all of these different characters to try to take down giant bosses and keep the world safe. This is going to be super fun. I'm excited to dig into this. Again, we'll try to make this as spoiler-free as possible. If there are things that I've shown and I realize that they are spoilery, there will be a tag underneath that says warning, spoiler alert coming soon. But from what I understand, everything in this is at least hidden unless you're actually supposed to open it. So let's dig into Oathsworn Into the Deep Wood. And if you're excited to see what is in all of this from the Kickstarter, then I need you to meet me at the table. We'll start with our base box. This whole pledge was over 50 pounds in 2 boxes, absolutely massive. We're going to be unboxing a whole bunch of different stuff. We are not going to be unboxing this. This is a scroll that has a warning about spoilers in this, so I will not be unboxing that. But some of the other things we're going to do is we do have an Armory pack that we're going to be digging into at some point. There's an art book. There is also a secret box that does say you may open this box. We are going to open that one. There's a terrain box. There's also 2 different mystery chests. We're going to at least open the box and see what's in there and see what I can show in those boxes. And we do have some metal coins that I'll talk about as we continue through this unboxing. But let's lift the lid on our pledge here and see what we have for Oathsworn Into the Deep Wood. This is going to be immense. It says, warning, the deep woods hold many mysteries. And so does this box. Do not open any boxes, envelopes, or books, nor look at the faces of any cards or boards until told to do so. Components you may look at immediately are both rule books, punch boards, miniature in trays, player aids, ability cards, archetype cards, companion cards, might decks, all dice, player boards, free company sheets, and character sheets. Turn this over. So on the back side here, it does show, it looks like it shows how you're going to set the box up once it's all done and what are the potentially you can actually look at in this game. So of course the first thing we have is stuff we can't look at. Stuff you can't look at right on the top. A bunch of mystery items. There's also some foam. We're going to ditch the foam, but we do have a lot of mystery envelopes here. We're going to set them aside. These will not be able to be opened. It does have a way of putting some of the miniatures together. These are pushed to fit, so I do not think you need to glue them, though I think you can if you wish to. And with the Armory set, you're able to change out the weapons of each of your different characters here so that you can have them look like exactly like they are in the game. We'll set that aside, and we will probably be doing some of this on my live painting. Every Tuesday I do a live painting episode or assembly episode, or it's basically some kind of hobby episode. So we'll be doing a live, probably pinned together, and we might even paint up a few of our Oathsworn characters here at some point. Here are the miniatures. They're pretty awesome. I'm going to take them out of this thing so we can take a look at a few of these. Not to mention we have some up here as well, and it did say we are able to look at these because they're, well, right there in front of us. First off, we have the members of our free company. We have our Ranger right here, just to show you how this looks. As you can see, there's some dots there. There's a few tabs on this one. They just snap right together, push to fit, boom, ready to go. It's not even going to fall out. Pretty sweet. This is our Ranger. It's one of the characters you can play as part of your free company. You do play with 4 characters in this game. You can choose the ones you want. Each of them are based on different complexities. We have the Guardian here. The Guardian's got this giant sword. He looks pretty neat. He's got this lion on him right there. This guy's pretty awesome looking. And again, like I said, I'll probably be putting some of these together after getting them all pinned and pushed together here. This is going to be Scar the Exile. He's got a couple giant axes, which is pretty neat. I will say the detail is pretty awesome on these. We have their priest right here. He is also all pushed together. Again, these do come apart, and some of them, like I said, are completely disassembled. And I'm a miniature putter together, and they weren't too hard at all to get exactly how you're supposed to put them together. And I'm really sure I'm going to glue these for sure. Here's Urus the Warbear, though I do want to mention, if you do glue them, do not glue the parts where the weapons go in, because if you have the armor set, that is where you're going to be putting in some of the new weapons. Here's our Warden with his giant shield and his sword. He's all set to fight. The Penitent is definitely going to get a glue because his head is just coming off pretty easy. So we're definitely going to glue this guy together just to keep his head on there and his arm. Well, I can't glue his arm on, but his arm's a little wobbly too, but that's okay. We have our Cur here, I think is what they call him. He's one of the, looks like a very thief-looking character. Oh, and there's so many, I kind of got some wrong. This is actually going to be our Warden. He's got the sword up in the air. The other one with the sword is going to be what they call a blade, a Therican blade. That's this guy right here. This guy's the other guy, the Warden. So they're very similar. Well, one's got a shield. I guess that's a big difference right there. Then we have our Avia Harbinger. It's a bird-looking creature. Look at that. With this giant two-handed and two-bladed, this one looks pretty awesome. Also, the interesting thing about this is they have a difficulty system for each of these characters. Some of them are going to be harder for newer players than others, and they have a star rating inside the rulebook to show you kind of which ones are easier. This is our Huntress. Then we have a Witch. That's this one right here. This is the Witch. And the final one we have is going to be this one right here, the Grove Maiden, is all pushed together and ready to go as well. Now, some of these do come with extra creatures. I believe these hawks are going to be, or eagles, are going to be part of our Huntress. And then a lot of these type things, these growing little contraptions here, are going to be part of our Grove Maidens. That's what some of these that you see inside of this box are. Then if any of your free company members go down, you can use one of these. You're going to substitute some of these guys in. These are like allies. They're going to be some of the soldiers that come and fight with them, but they kind of stay out of the fight until something kind of goes bad. So there's 4 of those guys, so they can each replace one of them as they're fighting in there. And your allies are going to potentially die as you play this game too, and so are some of your free company men as well. Now, I'm not sure what this guy is all about. I'm sure he has to go with one of our characters. He's maybe able to bring this out onto the board somehow. Moving on from all of the miniatures, like I said, there is a great sheet here that shows you how to put them all together. And I'm going to have to try to figure out what characters we're going to play in our playthrough coming up for Oathsworn. And I think to do that, I'm going to have our Patreon members vote for the characters I'm going to be playing with. I think that'll be really fun to do. And I am going to play, you have to play with 4. The interesting thing is you don't have to use 4 as full characters. You can also use them as kind of companions as well. And I'll show you a little bit about that as we go through some of the unboxing. I'm sure some of that will be in this area here. Here's our board and some of our punch boards, so let's take a look at those. But before we do, let's grab the rest of this stuff here. We have some things that are going to hold our cards. We have a whole mess of paper components, which we're going to deal with. This is going to be part of our story part of the game. This is a pretty neat system. I'm excited to show you. And then we're going to dig into the bottom of the box. On our punch boards, we have some of our status tokens. And in the back here, we have our different tracker tokens. We have our different combat tokens that we're going to be using through the game. We have our money, which we also have coins for as well. This is going to be our animus. This is how you're going to be gaining and using your abilities. Down here we have some of our location tokens that we're going to be using during the story part of the game. These are, again, double-sided. I don't know if I should look at the other side of these, but I'm not quite sure how it all goes, but there are punch boards. These are time tokens. These are different terrain pieces that are going to be down there. This is fire. And these are different area of effects that we can use. We also have water as well. Here's some more fire. Then we have houses and walls. More time tokens down here. If we flip these over, there's probably other things. Nope, the same stuff. Well, some water, I guess, on this side of the opposite of the fire. Then over here, we have the rest of our terrain tokens. And I believe these are just going to be extra soldiers out on the field for us. When playing through the story mode, you're going to be placing this down, and this is where you're going to be putting some of those tokens I just showed you as you read through the story and make your decisions. There's ones for each different chapter. I'm not going to show you the other chapters. I'm just going to show you the chapter 1 side to show you what it looks like. Though they are all in here, there's a ton of them, which is really cool. We also have our board, which is double-sided. It has kind of a more, I guess you could say, swampy area, I guess, or maybe more industrial area, not industrial, but like kind of lived-in area versus just a whole forest type thing. This is a hex-based game, so you're going to be moving around using in a hex type system. Moving into our paper components, we do have our story rulebook and the encounter rulebook, two totally different rulebooks that are going to govern the two different systems of the game. We then have this encounter book as well. I'm not going to look through this because I'm sure that's going to give spoilers away. I do want to mention that if you do look at the top of this, it does say download the companion app. There is an app for this game, and it is fully voiced by a fantastic person. James Cosmo, I believe. I could be totally saying that wrong, and I apologize, but he's perfect for this dark little fantasy that we're going to be living inside of. There's a pad of free company sheets here that are going to have things you're checking off as you play through the game. You're going to have knockouts. You're going to basically gain better abilities for your characters and the free company itself as you play through the game. You're going to be checking off the different chapters and potentially what has happened during the story. And of course, we get to name our free company as well. Then we have a journal, and one thing I will say about this game is I'm really impressed by the fact that even when you open up the first page of this journal, it'll say, warning, there are spoilers all over here, so don't continue. So we, of course, will not continue with that journal, and I think that's pretty neat that they do that in all of these different parts of the game. This is our storybook for numbers 1 through 11, and this is 12 through 21. These are enormous books, all with, of course, fully voiced work if you have the app. Continuing into the rest of the box, we have a place to put all of those different tokens. I really think this is amazing. I love it when they actually give you something that can hold all of the tokens. That's awesome. We have some of the bags we're going to be using. These are going to be used for, I believe, some of the characters, but it doesn't look like all of them, I'm guessing. No, it does. Okay, these are going to be your save bags. So as you play through the game, if you decide to stop for the day, you find the person you are, you put all the stuff for that Oathsworn character, of free company member, in here, and you're good to go. So next time you come to the table, you just grab the bag, put everything you need out, and you're ready to play. These are our player boards for all of our characters, I'm assuming, and some other things. Let's take a look. So we do have all of our characters. For example, here is Urus Warbear. Every character has a special ability. You're going to be tracking hit points, defense, different might that's going to improve their chances of hitting when it comes to rolling dice, or being able to choose the type of dice or cards you can use. When you fight, you either can roll dice or choose cards, and you'll see some of that as we continue through the unboxing here. This is going to be where you put your animus that is used or not spent, which is going to allow you to play your different cards all around this character. If you notice, there's a 0, 1, 2, and 3. It's going to, what they call battle flow around this character. It's going to be really cool. I'm excited to try it out. So here's our Harbinger. We have the Huntress. This art is absolutely awesome. We have the Witch. She looks pretty scared. We have the Warden, the Penitent. We have the Ranger next, followed by Kerr. I believe it's called Kerr. If I'm wrong, please let me know. The Blade. Oh, that guy looks really neat. Then we have the Priest. Oh, he's got his book hanging from him. That's what that was on the model. That's awesome. Then we have the Exile, and we have our Grove Maiden as well. Then it looks like we have our special encounter cards. Now, of course, we are not going to be looking at any of these, but if you can see, there's ones for all probably different enemies that we're going to be fighting throughout the game. And these are going to be revealed as you fight the certain enemy. Also, they could be revealed based on how well you do inside of the story part of the game. You might get a glimpse as to how the encounter is going to begin. There's a mess of cards, but let's just get the rest of the stuff out of here. We have different dice. Some of them are going to be location dice. And we have other 6-siders and 12-siders. These are going to be our dice we're going to use to see how well we do when we're fighting. As you can tell, there's these little wavy lines. Those are criticals. They're kind of like exploding dice. You can continue using them. They're based on the color is how good they are when you go to fight with them. These are going to be our animus. If we wish to use these instead of those punch-out tokens, we can use these. Then we have these different, what are these? Oh, these are cubes. These are the cubes that are going to be placed onto your character to help you denote what type of, where is it here? Here we go. You can put them up here in your might area, and that'll mean that when you go to attack, you can choose to use, it'll tell you kind of what type of dice or cards you can roll, and that way you can keep track of them and not forget what you're going to do. Then we have a ton of cards here. These right here are the dice type cards. These are going to be the cards that are, instead of using dice, you can use these cards. The enemy also is going to have a set of these. Both you and the enemy are going to have a set that you're going to be drawing from. And it does recommend you use the cards for the enemies, but for the player, you could use the cards or you could use those dice, depending on how good you are at either. Then there's a special box down here labeled N or Z. I am not going to open that because I'm guessing it's a spoiler box, but we have a ton of cards that we have to look through. Now, I will be kind of opening these and checking them out to make sure there's nothing too spoilery as we go through this, but I do like the fact that they all fit inside here. Now, I am looking at this and I'm a little worried that sleeved cards are not going to fit into these, which is going to be a huge bummer, but maybe I am wrong. The first set of cards we have are going to be our reference cards. They're going to tell us a little bit about what we're doing here, what the different icons mean, and what the status for all the different tokens we're eventually going to get. There are 4 of course, each of these. There's a turn order card. There's a combat token, again, card that's going to tell you a little bit about what the tokens do versus what the actual icons do. Then we have these. These are going to be our companion cards. If you decide you do not want to actually try to control 4 characters with all the different things going on, the battle flow and the animus and all that, you can use some of them as companions. They're going to be easier to play with, but they're still going to be able to help you out and do some really powerful things. So each of the characters do have their own companion card if you wish to use them in that fashion. Next, we have all of the different abilities for all the different Grand Company characters that you can be. I'm not going to show all of them, but I will show you a few. For example, here are our Rangers cards. I'm not going to spoil anything that wouldn't be given to you at the very beginning of the game. And you're going to be able to denote that by this star right here. So this would be a card that you would get in your very opening hand if you decide to play the Ranger. So I'm not spoiling anything too bad. This is going to be the animus cost it's going to take to use it. And as you can see, it's a question mark because it depends on what you want to do with it. This here is going to show you where you're going to place it down on your character board. When it comes to the battle flow condition, this would be 0, so you'd place it right down there. On top of that, it has how much defense you could use to just play this card as defense. And notice it doesn't cost any animus to do that. This up here does show that it is an animus card that's going to be put into your battle flow. And you're going to get, I believe, about 7 of these. And each one is going to be doing something a little bit different. Notice this one is going to have to be placed in battle flow, but it would give you 1 defense if you just want to play it for defense. But it costs 4 animus, and it's going to be able to do this action once you play the card out there. And you can keep doing actions and go back and forth between all of your different free company until, of course, all of you are done with animus. Then you would move into the enemy turn. We have long shot here. Again, it's another 1 animus, and you do have to build your deck based on a certain amount of 0, 1, 2, and 3 cards. There's a formula you have to use when it comes to creating your character. And again, I'm not spoiling anything. Again, there's still that star symbol on all of these as we go through it. We have thread the needle. Look, that's going to cost 3. It's going to go into a 2 animus slot. Then we've got a 2-1. It's called quick shot. Again, if you notice the higher value up here, I've noticed the more defense you're going to be able to play for. The interesting thing about this game is the way that you get hit is you're going to take how much damage you are and you're going to divide it by your defense. So the higher your defense is, the more you're going to reduce the damage by. It's a really cool system. I normally don't see that in games. Normally it's just like a plus and minus system. This is a full-on division, which is pretty neat. Then we have this one, which is a 3 that is going to be 0 animus. Must be pretty good. And you can do it for 3 defense as well. I think we're getting close to probably trying some of those ones you have to pay for. Nope, I think it's the last one right here. Again, I don't want to show off any. I can't. But again, the more powerful cards are going to be harder to get back in the battle flow. So this one would sit in number 3, and somehow you'd have to bounce this all the way back down. And the interesting thing as you play is this doesn't just move every turn. There's cards that will help it move, or you have to play something to move it onto the slot that it's already in. So it's harder to get these more powerful cards back as you play through the game. We'll look at one other character here, the Exile. And of course, depending on what my Patreon votes on, is the people we're going to play in the game. So you're going to see, you might see some of these cards reach appear when we get to the playthrough. The Primal Strike here for our Exile. I wanted to show you the Exile because our Ranger, is more of a range type character where he is not. So a lot of their abilities are going to be for attacking range, where this one's going to be right up and personal. You see, for the example, this one you can pay 1 animus to battle flow 1 card, which you could pull another card from around the side if you wanted to. Again, I'm not going to spoil anything, but I can make sure I got these stars on these cards. This one, for example, if you have a weapon, I get +3 damage and range 3 because I could throw it. I could throw the weapon. Though I believe if you do throw weapons, I think they stay on the ground. You got to try to go get those weapons, which is kind of neat. We have leap attack, where this thing can bounce, I think, off a figure. Place your figure in the hex on the opposite side of an adjacent enemy. Any character in the hex suffers knockback 1 in any direction you choose. Then I get to make an attack and target the enemy you leapt over. If you are attacking the enemy's rear, the enemy is empowered, the attack is empowered 3, which is a status effect that's going to be pretty good. And it's a 1. Wow, this guy sounds pretty good. He's going to be able to do a roaring charge. Of course he is. He's a giant berserker type character. Why wouldn't he? That's pretty awesome. Then he's got Reap, which would have an ability that would attack everything in this area, from what I'm guessing. Then we have Headbutt. Check this one out. After an adjacent enemy draws damage, or you can then ignore one of the enemy's might cards of your choice. Wow, that'd be really good. Or I could play this just straight 3 defense, or attack, and the attack costs 2 animus, so I could just use it as an attack card if I wanted to. And our last one, I think, before we'd move into any of the ones you'd have to eventually gain through the game, is Death from Above. You may only play this ability if you are adjacent to an obstacle. You can place your figure in an empty hex within 7 range. You do not count as moving through the intervening hexes. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. He's going to be able to jump. That's so good. So that's the Exile. He's got some pretty cool cards. And I'm sure each one of these characters is going to play completely different from some of the other ones. I'm sure the ones with the shields and thing are going to be way better at being able to tank damage. Then, of course, that Exile is probably going to be better at taking out damage, dishing out damage. I'm sure this War Bear is probably pretty good at dishing out damage. Some of these, the Warden, who's got that big giant sword, will be pretty good. The Witch is probably going to be casting spells all over the place. This is going to be really neat to try out all these different characters in this game. Next, we have a bunch of card separators that'll help us out here. We have a backpack card, and we have a Path A, Path B card. I'm not sure exactly what this is, probably going to be used for the story moments. Then we have all of these cards. These cards are going to be the abilities that your companion can have. So moving back again to our companions, if we have decided to bring our ranger with us, let's say, we decided to bring our ranger with us, we would be able to pick one of the cards for it depending on what we've been able to unlock. Now again, I'm not spoiling anything. This is the one you would start with if you wish to use this as a companion. And if you look, the art actually matches up right on cue there. That's pretty awesome. And these are double-sided, so you could choose whichever, I believe you can choose which ones you want before you go into battle. And these are going to be what you're going to spend your animus on instead of all those cards you just saw that your character would normally have, which makes these a little bit more manageable if you decided to try to solo this and you wanted to kind of run it a lot faster, I guess you could say. Maybe this would speed up the gameplay because the companions are a little bit less involved than the other characters. Next, we have decks of items based, I believe, on the story you're on. So these would be 2, these would be 1. So I'm not worried about showing the 1 common items because these are a lot of the ones you're going to start with on your character in the first chapter. For example, we got Gnarled Bush here. We've got this Great Maul, and if you notice how this works, this is the animus it would take to use this if you decide to use it as a weapon of some, or use it, it has a 2 value, and down here it says when you critical during an attack, that attack adds 2 damage and 2 knockback, and that would be when you use this, I believe, and it would go into a 2 spot there. These are the classes that can use this. It doesn't cause battle flow, so when I do have to use this for whatever I'm using it for, even though I put it in the battle flow 2, it wouldn't cycle any of the cards around, is how that works. This yellow cube, those are the cubes you would place inside your might track, so having this would give you a yellow die or a yellow card draw when you go to make attacks, making them hopefully better and see less misses. So these are all the different weapons we're going to be able to use for our characters. For example, here again, I'm just keep using the ranger as an example. I'm going to guess they start with a short bow, and here's the symbol for that character right there. It has a range of 4, and it has this yellow cube on it. So all those abilities you saw, I believe, are going to have the range of 4 if I'm using with this short bow, unless the card tells me otherwise. Then on top of that, it says down here, when you attack, spend any amount of animus to add 2 range to the attack for each animus spent. Companion, add 4 range to an attack. So if you gave this, companion would have this, they would just get the 4 range. You get, if you're using it as a character, would be able to do more animus and do more things with it. And of course, it would go into battle flow 1, and it doesn't cause any battle flow. So that's the items that you can get. But of course, there's also armor in here that are going to give you better armor. So it again shows who can use this armor. There's just armor and there's weapons. That's really all there is, I think, is what it is. I'm sure there's got to be some shields. Here's a shield right here. It's going to give more defense. Only a couple different characters can use these shields. And the reason they have so many of these is because you can outfit your characters how you want to based on the class card there. And then, of course, you'd grab out of the armory all the different weapons and stuff you gain and put them on your character. There are a massive amount of items, and I'm not going to open any of these. I'm just going to leave them as is. Of course, we have our 2 here, which would be the ones we'd probably get in Chapter 2, or maybe after we complete the first mission, we might be able to draw some from number 2. I'm not exactly sure. Of course, I have no idea. I've never played the game. The interesting thing about the game, though, is as you're playing through the game, some of your weapons may potentially break, or armor might break of some kind, so you're going to be getting new items to hopefully keep up with your characters as they're fighting through all these encounters. It's a really neat system. Next, we have a deck that is all the different bioforms for one of our characters. I think the Grove Maiden of some kind. Then we have some promo allies. Now notice there's these stars. That means these are cards we could go ahead and look at because they're going to be stuff that's going to be given to us almost immediately. So these allies are going to be characters that can come in and fight if one of your characters goes down. So here's one of them right here. We have a Man-at-Arms, Sword for Hire, which is neat because then there is player elimination, but it doesn't take you out of the fight. This character just appears on one of the edges of the board and can come on in and start doing things, which is kind of cool. Of course, it's very limited. You don't get a lot of things you can do, but who knows? That might be enough to get the killing blows to have one of these allies come in and save the day. Who knows? But there's all these allies are eventually going to power up. There's allies for levels 1, 2, 3, 7. So as you're going through, you're going to gain these allies. You could be told to take ally 29. So you'd take ally 29. He'd be now part of your free company. Of course, if these allies die, then that's too bad for the ally. He didn't make it. There are more in this deck here. I don't want to open that. I just opened the ones that have the starter stuff in it because that's all I want to show you all. When you play through the game, you do get to use this pad, which shows Oathsworn registration for character sheets. The reason I'm having this character sheet is hiding what's behind these, which is, I believe, City and Deepwood event cards that we're getting. As you can tell, it just kind of says City right here. And from the front of this card, there's basically a little bit of a story going on, and then you can make a choice. I don't want to spoil anything for you, so just know there are some for the City, and there are some back here that say Deepwood. So those are going to be part of the adventure as we go through it, and there's a lot of different events that could be taking place, and each one of these are numbered, so I'm guessing it'll just say take number like 16 out of here or something, and then you'll read that together and decide what you want to do as a group. The next set of cards we have are injury cards. There's 2 different types of injuries cards. There's ones that are detrimental, and there's ones that are actually not bad for you. I will show at least one of these so you can see kind of what these are all about. As you're playing through the game, you may have to take an injury, and these injuries are going to go into your card hand, or in your group of cards you have. You're always going to have your full set of cards, and when you have them in your hand, you do have to play them out and have to deal with the detriment. But interestingly enough, for example, say we have Nightmares. It will then go into, I'm kind of covering up so you don't know exactly what it's all going, but I want to explain kind of how it works. You're going to deal with whatever's on this card. Then notice here, it's going to go into battle flow 2, but it doesn't cause battle flow. So you're going to set this out there. So you don't want this to come back, but of course, some of your other better abilities might be over here, so it needs to come back. And of course, once it comes back in your hand, you're going to have to deal with the repercussions of that injury. Just on the flip side, there's these curative cards that you can buy or pick up in the story events that are going to be in the same vein, and when you're told to draw a card from the injury deck, it's going to be a combined deck eventually, and you can draw these in your hand. You're not going to know which ones you have till you go into the encounter, I believe. And then, for example, you'd be able to look at it, it says curative, and you deal with all this, and this doesn't have battle flow. So this, I'm guessing, just means you suffer no injury, place this card back in the curative deck. So, and of course, once you use a curative card, it's gone. The injuries, though, on the other hand, I believe, are going to stay with you. So that's a really neat system. So the more of these you can stick into this deck, the less chance you have of having one of these detrimental injuries part of the encounter. If the encounter wasn't hard enough, you could be injured and really have some bad things happen to you. The rest of the cards that I'm not going to open are all going to be the different enemy cards. And if you notice, there's 1, 2, and 3. And when you go to create your encounter, it's going to tell you what cards you're going to take, and you're going to put them into a stack of 3, 2, and 1 right on top of each other. So in theory, the easier cards to deal with are going to be on top, where when it gets more desperate, it's going to probably be doing more vicious things. Of course, every time you get to a different part of this deck, it could totally change the way it fights. You don't know, which is super cool about this game. Of course, the more you play the game, the more you'll understand how this enemy works. And on top of that, you can create a harder experience by adjusting the difficulty. There's, I believe, 5 different difficulties. So if you've played the game a lot, you could up the difficulty because you might know kind of how some of these encounter cards work. I'm not going to show any of them because I'm going to be able to experience all that on my own, along with you in our upcoming playthrough of Oathsworn Into the Deepwood. There are these unique cards. I guess there's these left. These I'm not going to show either. These I believe are going to be spoils of war, or maybe you do something really good in the story event to gain one of these unique cards. It'll give you the number of the card you're going to gain, and then that's going to be the card. I'm guessing. Oh, there's a couple ones. So maybe eventually it might just say you get to draw a random one from number 1 or something as maybe we complete the first encounter, or something happens in the story. That'd be really cool to get a neat card that'll probably help our chances. There is another set of card separators here, and they actually show you what you're going to use them for, which is really neat. Instead of just being generic card things, they can tell you what to put behind them or in front of them depending on how you do your card sorting. That is everything that is in the base box of Oathsworn, I believe. I don't think I missed anything. I did not open these. These are just going to be cards that are very similar to the way the dice work. You're going to pull the cards based on what you decide to do, and they're either going to have misses or they're going to have hits on them. They have the exact chances based on the amount of cards. So, for example, if there's 10 white cards, 10 red cards, 10 black cards, 10 yellow cards, the amount of misses would be the same chance as you'd see on the dice. Of course, the difference is these only get shuffled at certain times. So if you can kind of start card counting, you can figure out when would be a really good time to go for a big attack. Whereas the dice, you're always at their mercy. It did come with these metal coins as part of the Kickstarter. It was all in pledge. I'm just showing you the 20. The other ones are the same. They're just smaller based on the number value that you have. They're really detailed. They look pretty cool. I'm pretty excited to use these. Before we move on, there was one more thing. There were a couple of these mystery envelopes. Of course, I'm not going to open them. So that was also inside this box. Next, we're going to look at the Oathsworn Into the Deepwood Armory system. It has this cool book that comes with it that shows all the different things that would go with each of the characters, and it shows you where exactly these would fit in here. It says here, when swapping weapons, some push-fit components may become loosened. To retighten the connection, simply press together, squeeze the front shown in green and back shown in red of the miniature, which is pretty neat. I think that's kind of cool. And of course, they have one for each one of these. So as we look through these different things here, it shows you which ones are for which characters. Let's take a look as we open this up and see what we have in here. If it does open, there we go. It's kind of cool because it does give you which person this is. These are all the wardens, different items that person could use. Here's the cur. We have the War Bear. Now, of course, I don't know what any of these are, what these do, so I don't think this is very spoilery. What do you know? You'd be super surprised. The Exile has lots of huge giant weapons. I mean, that's kind of a given, you'd think, right? The Penitent has, oh my gosh, look at this. He gets a pole arm eventually, maybe at some point. The Blade, there's the Huntress. These are all different things that are now going to be part of it. Now, of course, the interesting thing is if you do paint your miniatures, you have to make sure you remember the paint scheme for each of the characters because these arms are all going to be different. So I want to make sure as you paint them, you remember what colors you used for what part of the character when it came to their arms. This part of the box right here, from what I understand, is going to be where you're going to put some of these miniatures, the ones you're using at least, after you put on new weapons and arms, because they're not, I believe, going to fit back in here. I think that's how this works. So that is really all that's into the Deepwood Armory, but that's really cool. I almost was a kind of a callback to Kingdom Death, where what you see is what you get kind of concept. I think that's really cool when it comes to games like this. Next, we're going to take a look at the terrain box that is for Oathsworn Into the Deepwood. I'm sure it's just going to be a bunch of trees and things like that we're going to have to, because you saw the cardboard cutouts of all this, so I'm sure that's really, oh my gosh, look at this. Oh wow, this is going to be amazing. All right, I got to get this off and take a look. It looks like we have, of course, some push-to-fit trees. They're just going to fit together. I'm not going to fully push them together, but just to show you kind of how they, I think, all get together here. Oh, there's a bottom part here for some of these and some top parts for others. Maybe this is the one that goes in here. I'm not exactly sure how it all fits together, but maybe it just stops like that. It could just be like that. No, it's got to have more. Yes, it has this tree thing here. There we go. This all push to fit together, I'm sure, just like that. Yeah, so I could push these even harder in there, but I want to. I'm going to paint all this up. This is going to look super cool on the board. Wow, that's one of the things. Now, of course, you got this thing. This thing's out of control. Look at this giant house. This is really cool. So not only could you use this, like this is my hand. So, I mean, it's like good size. It's really big, and it's made of plastic. It's really nice. I like this. I mean, I could use this for Dungeons and Dragons for crying out loud. This is amazing. So I got trees, and I got this. We also got walls. These walls are pretty neat. Look at that. Walls fitting in here. And of course, the encounter you're playing will tell you exactly what you're going to be placing where. And that's really all that's in this box, is just all the different, I guess, 3 different types of terrain that will affect the battle as you play. That's pretty cool. Let's move on to something else. The next box is our Mystery Chest 1. I'm sure this is going to be the fastest unboxing of all time. I'm sure there's absolutely nothing in here I can show. Nothing. I don't even think I can show this. I maybe could because it's cube, but I don't know. And underneath these, I'm sure are more. Oh my gosh, no, this is just all stuff. This is one thing here. Can you believe this? Oh, imagine what this is going to be. I have no idea. Then we've got this thing here. Oh, there's so many cool things. I can hardly wait to see what these are. Oh my gosh. All right. That's number 1. Let's take a look. At least let's look at the box sizes for what's inside Mystery Chest number 2. I think that'll be pretty neat just to see kind of the size of some of the boxes we're going to be playing with, or potentially what the enemies are. Here's Mystery Chest number 2. And let's take a look at some of the size of these boxes. 21, look at this box. Now, the interesting thing is, something that could be interesting is I might be able to take 14 and 5 and put them together to make an encounter. I don't know. I have no idea how this game is all going to play out. I mean, I have no idea what this is right here. If it does go numerical order, this in theory is the first enemy we're going to take on, but that might not be the case. Our first enemy could be number 20. I have no idea. We'll have to play through our encounter, or through the storybook, to find out what's going to be part of our encounter. So those are the 2 mystery chests. Sorry I couldn't show too much. And like I said, if you're interested in spoilers, there may be some unboxings out there that are doing it. I just don't like to do that for people. I'd rather have them experience the game along with myself. I would like to experience it as well. Next, we have the book that came with this. Could be an art book. It could be a lore book. I'm not exactly sure what this is all about. We'll take a look. So we'll see what we have. We have, what's this? Spoiler warning. Oh, this book contains many spoilers. If you wish to preserve the mysteries of the game, do not go book. And that's the unboxing of the book. Because again, I'm not really trying to spoil too much. So this would spoil things. So we're not going to look at it. That was awesome. The last thing we have is the secret box that says you may open this box. So there's no reason I can't do this. Guy, they even tell me I should. So let's take a look and see what is this. Oh, it's a giant miniature. Let's see. Oh my gosh, it's fully painted and ready to go. Oh, look at this thing. It's one of the war bears. Oh, this is awesome. All right, let's see if I can get this out. This thing is amazing. Take a look at this thing. This is fully painted and ready to go. Oh, wow, look at the detail on this. This is super cool. I'm really excited for this. I am going to... So I've got a running joke with my wife. Sometimes I put miniatures in the kitchen where she can't reach them until she tells me I have to take them out. And I'm going to try to put this in the kitchen and see how long it stays there. And then I'll put it in my curio cabinet, because I have a curio cabinet filled with all the miniatures I painted. And this I don't even need to paint. I'm just going to go put it in there. This thing looks awesome. Thank you so much for the mystery secret box. This is pretty sweet. There you have it, the most spoiler-free I possibly could make of an unboxing of Oathsworn Into the Deepwood. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell symbol so you know when the playthrough for Oathsworn Into the Deepwood comes out. That's right, we're going to be doing a playthrough very soon. We'll start with our story and then move into the encounter. I'm going to do my best to get these all painted up and ready to go. We do live painting episodes every Tuesday, so please keep a lookout for those. And you can join in the chat and have a great time as we chat along and paint along and just interact with each other as we go through painting some of the miniatures for the games we're going to be playing. Also, if you're interested in making your dream, I guess, come alive, you can join my Patreon, which is going to give you the ability to help vote on what characters are going to be coming into this playthrough of Oathsworn Into the Deepwood. If there's a character you're really excited to see, please join my Patreon and you'll be able to vote for that. On top of that, they'll also help decide what we paint and what we play as the channel continues to grow. Those that have already supported our channel is showing on the screen right here. Thank you so much for all of your support. You definitely make this channel what it is today. On top of that, if you have anything else you would like to add, please feel free to leave a comment. I love to hear from everyone. I make sure to respond to everyone. It's so much fun to be able to chat with people inside of the comment section. So there you have it. Thank you again so much for watching. And if you're excited to see the playthrough of Oathsworn or anything else on my channel, then I need you to meet me at the table.